Are you ready? Did you light the candle? Okay, let's start the ritual. Welcome to Intuitively Wild, the podcast. I'm your host, Rachel. This is a space where truth gets its voice back, because shame loses its power when we speak to it. Here, we don't skip the hard parts. We sit with them, and we learn to hold ourselves inside them. This podcast is ritual in audio form, a way for us to bring intention and intuition back into our everyday. Let's dig into our roots and go deep. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the podcast, and welcome to our monthly ritual of sitting down to reflect on the month that has passed and set intentions for the month to come. I have my favorite co-host here with me, my mom.
Thank you.
Who I have dragged into doing these R&I episodes with me because I just love doing them with her.
I love doing them with you.
And I'm just gonna set the scene for a second. Where I'm at my parents' house. It's the day after Thanksgiving. I took 2 Benadryl last night because I had an allergic reaction to tree nuts, which I never ever take medication, so I'm very sensitive to it. So still feeling the effects of that. And my mom was up super late cleaning up after hosting Thanksgiving. So we're both in various states of exhaustion and
but very happy and grateful.
But very happy, yes, very happy and grateful, and very happy to be here. And it's recording the podcast even when we're feeling not like star perfect, right, put together level, ready for camera is one of my intentions. Like, this is the kind of content I want to put out, and I just want it to be like you guys are here after Thanksgiving with us, sitting down for tea.
Couldn't be more real.
And so that's one reason why I want to show up in these ways.
Yeah.
So
here we are.
With that being said, let's get into it. First, we'll pour our tea. My mom also requested a special tea blend for me to bring home for her for Thanksgiving.
Very excited to try.
So I brought home, it's raspberry leaf, lemon balm, mugwort, and chamomile. And she had wanted nettle, but I was out. So that's why I added the chamomile mugwort instead. I just went off.
It smells amazing.
Went off script. So I hope you guys will pour yourself some tea. My mom also has her...
I have all the beverages.
Her water and her latte.
I need the latte to try to be awake. I'm very dehydrated, but I'm mostly excited about the tea, which smells divine. Oh, yes. This is nice.
It is really good. All right.
Thank you, sweetie.
Okay, let's get into it. So, Mom.
Yes, dear.
When you think back on November, what comes up for you?
It was what comes up for me is a lot of feelings. It was overall, first of all, it went very quickly. And I think part of that was because it was chock full of, for me, for my work, it got very, very busy. And I do find that this time of year, for whomever may not know, I'm a psychotherapist. I work with families, children, and adults, both individually and in groups or in families. And it was very busy because I think that people all over, in various situations, feel the impact of life very, very acutely during this time, the highs and the lows, with the anticipation of the holidays, with the ending of the year. I could go on about, in terms of with children and teenagers, in terms of school and various things like that. But it just got very, very busy. And so I found myself very immersed in that, and in a way that was more, I embodied the energy of my patients, the families I work with, most of whom I've been involved with for some time and know quite well. just in a very, very all-embodied way, and had to check myself to remain objective while still being compassionate. So November had a lot to do with what was coming up in my sessions with my people I'm in therapy with, I'm a therapist for, and what it evoked in me, and how to sort that out, and then how to be present for them. That was a lot of November.
And do you feel like that bled into, like, personally, when you think back on how you moved through the world, like, what was coming up for you personally?
And what was coming up for me was twofold. Was that, I also sense the sort of anticipatory intensity of the holidays and all the joyousness of that, all the potential stress of that, and so it really forced me to be very present and intentional in how I wanted to, and we'll talk about the intentions in a moment. So I felt that energy in me personally and wanted to stay really present with just sort of the connection I was feeling in October with nature. I still continued to embrace that to help me stay grounded in November. The other thing that came up for me was that, and I just was thinking about this morning, was that what I realized with what I just said in terms of my work, and personally what it reminded me is that I feel increasingly steeped in my purpose to help people who are struggling. And I know it sounds sort of trivial and mundane and cliche. I am a therapist after all, but I think I recognize that is very much my life's purpose. It's very fulfilling to be reminded of that. And while it did require me to dig deep and meditate and go inward and realize what was coming up, it reminded me that, you know what, this is what I want to be doing with my time. So I'm very grateful that I've been in a field and I've had work that feels so gratifying.
Yeah, I love that so much. And I might be repeating myself because I can't remember if I said this on the podcast or just to another friend, but I do feel like you are someone who got really, when I think about purpose, this is going down a whole other tangent, so I won't touch on this for too long, but there's something called the G Center in human design, and the G Center is like your sense of purpose and life direction, and there's lots of details to it, but if you have it defined, usually it means that you have a more clear sense of purpose. You know the direction you're going and just know your life path. It's like if you were given a map and yours is more like straightforward, and someone without that center defined, you're not even handed the map. And I feel like you are someone who was really lucky to like have these two clear defined purposes, being a mom and being a therapist, and watching you step into that and embrace those so fully, I just feel like I see it shows who you are so completely. Does that make sense?
It makes sense, and it makes sense to me, and it means a lot to me to hear it come from you.
Anyway, I won't go, that could be, maybe we'll make a whole other podcast about that, because I don't have my G Center defined, and I feel like it also just shows a stark contrast between the way our lives unfold for each of us. Anyway, moving on from that. For me in November, it's interesting. So, October was a really, really beautiful month for me, and I felt so in love with fall and so immersed in nature and really present with that. And November felt a lot more challenging, and I don't know if it is because of the dip into colder weather that came on very strongly, or the end of the new year coming. Just a lot of anxieties around things happening in the future and just planning and preparing and still figuring out things with the space and the opening. And I don't know, there was a lot, but November did feel really challenging for me. And it felt like this whole storyline that I've been walking for a very long time, but especially, we're talking about this year, kind of came to the front in November. It was like all the lessons and all the challenges and all the different things that have been happening in my life and that I've been growing through kind of spiraled back in November, and it felt like they were coming up again to be fully released once and for all. Like to get prepared to close the chapter and then to start and enter the new year fully fresh and ready. So November did feel really beautiful because that was something we were talking about together, is how like in the darkness you see the bright lights really more easily. And that's something that's so both metaphorically and truly in winter it's darker and you see the lights and the stars brighter. Right. And that's how November felt for me.
Couple of things I want to, if it's okay, just as you were talking, I want to share that one of the things that was challenging for me as I talk about my professional work, that is, as much as I embody it and it is part of my life's purpose, and what I was saying about sort of feeling the energy from my patients and having to check myself. As your mom, which is very different than being your therapist, and I never want to interact with you as a therapist. I'm your mom. But I feel your energy, that because we're very close, and also that is part of, my human design.
Taught you so well.
You have taught me so well. And I was highly aware of the challenges you were going through this month. And I've worked hard and you've helped me with this as well, it's a process, in, acknowledging that I can feel your energy, but then just, sort of getting out of your way to let you have your experience and not project onto that, right? And I have really, I think, moved forward with that process because it's an intentionality I have. It's very important. I think it's enhanced our relationship. And I felt myself slipping back this month and getting sort of very caught up emotionally in your energy that I knew was challenging and wanting to make it better for you, which isn't helpful. And is a reminder of that growth is, as you call it, it's a spiral. And so I did feel myself a little bit dipping back into old habits. I've been, my sleep is the first thing that tends to challenge me when I'm feeling highly activated. And I had been on a pretty good rhythm in October, and November's been a sleep challenging month for me, which is always an indication. Anyway, we could have a whole podcast on that.
And I want to say, because I think that is something that we've had to navigate a lot as I've gotten older and
become an adult,
through my healing and all that kind of stuff. And I think that when I was younger, I was so aware, even if it wasn't conscious, of you taking on my emotions. So I would sometimes shut them down or just not tell you about them, and that was not healthy for either of us.
Right.
And so that's one reason why we've really had to work through that, and for me to relearn that feeling my feelings and feeling them to the fullness that I need to feel them is important. I think I've had to remind myself that in November, because sometimes my emotions can feel really big and overwhelming and like a lot, and I for so long in my life was like, I can't, like, that's too dramatic, or like I'm gonna upset mom, or like whatever. And now I'm like, or just like, it's not okay to feel sad. It's not okay to be down, and it's not okay. Like, these emotions aren't okay. And now I have really learned that I'm meant to feel really deeply, and I'm meant to just let that come up and move through me, and then pass by. And so I always, when sometimes I'm feeling big emotions, I mean, we've found different ways to navigate it, but often when I want to talk to you about it, I do try to start with, I really don't want you to take on what I'm feeling. Like,
it's a good reminder, because that is my
mentally put your
MO.
guards up and just.
That's right. It does, and as you say, we can delve into it, because so much is coming up for me right now. I have many thoughts about sort of also the origin of all this for me that I would love to share at another time on this platform even. But it has so deep and dark connection, and just when you think it can't get any closer and deeper. Yep, go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say, it's because now I'm not it's because we're not afraid to just say whatever we need to say.
That's right.
And that, even if sometimes, it rubs each other the wrong way, or it doesn't.
We need a moment to
or it
regroup.
doesn't come out exactly how we want it to, or it is uncomfortable. I am so devoted in all my relationships, but especially the ones that am so meaningful and close to me, just saying what I need to say.
Right.
And just being exactly how I am in that moment.
Right, the truth.
Yeah.
And that is, and it has been, talk about gratifying, not always easy, sometimes painful, but in the end, so incredibly rewarding and exhilarating even, to be able to be that together and to help each other through that.
Yeah.
May I say one more thing about November that I realized? Yeah. Again, also I think morning after Thanksgiving, I don't want to slip into a bunch of cliches, but what I do want to say is, for me, and you know this, that I love opening our home for Thanksgiving to our family and close friends. And I realize that it's a artifact of society, but it serves a purpose for me, because with the kind of increasing tumult of November and going into December, there's this one day, and of course not just one day, especially in my world where I, shop for days, but it truly is a labor of love. That's one of those cliches. But what I realized was that knowing that there's that sort of endpoint at the end of the month, that is really about, when you can tune into it in its purest form, what it has always meant for me, which is connection and the true sense of gratitude and love, that, and home and all those things, that having that, knowing that's coming up, is sort of like a safe landing for all that. And then, we transition to the next, but there's this kind of stoplight. I think so. Now let's just breathe slowly and be grateful. Sorry, had to be a little cliche, but I mean it in the most authentic sense. And boy, am I ever. Boy, am I ever. So that helps very much.
Yeah. So I think in general, November just brought up a lot of feelings and a reminder that they're meant to be felt.
Yes.
And that will bring us to December. So what are your intentions for December, Mom?
My intentions for December are to, carrying through what you said, it brings up lots of feelings. There is a lot of joy and festivity. There is being together with loved ones and acts of generosity and gratitude. And then there's the noise. There's the noise of the commercialism. There's the noise of the consumerism. There's the noise of, sort of a pressure to be the joyful person. So I would like to quiet that noise and lean into...
Speaking of noise.
Yeah, speaking of... And really, really lean into that those twinkling, the darkness and the light and the beauty of both of them. I'm really having a moment with darkness these days, really appreciating it and what it offers and how it allows the illumination of magic to happen, to be seen and to be felt. And so I want to, move through December in spite of the freneticism around the environment, in a very intentional way and connecting with the things that matter.
Yeah, I'm having a moment with darkness too. And for me, in December, I'm feeling so ready to go into a little bit of a hibernation cocoon.
Yeah. Can I come with you?
Yeah.
And take our tea?
I really feel like I need that, both in many different ways, like literally and figuratively, to just kind of cocoon myself from the world. And I'm feeling the need to draw away from social media for a little bit and quiet that noise and to just disconnect more and to be really, really intentional with what media I'm intaking in all different forms, just what noise I'm intaking and who I'm around. And also to just be immersed in the darkness. I just got some new beeswax candles that I'm hoping to light every night. And this is, for me, like, I'm very into candles, especially in the winter, but always I love candles and I light them all the time and have different scents for different times and all that kind of stuff. But for me, getting these candles felt a little bit different. They are more for me, it feels very ritualistic and connecting to this more like primitive way of living. And I got these really beautiful candle holders there. I forget that you hold them with, like, they have a handle for you to hold.
Right, like you see in the olden days.
Yeah, and to carry them around, and like when the sun sets and I'm having my tea at night and my dark chocolate, like I just want to sit there with my beeswax candle. And same in the morning when I'm doing my rituals and the sun's rising, doing little things like that, and really embracing the darkness and sitting with it and seeing what comes up for me, and to really be in this last pause moment before the new year comes. And as I've stated before, for me, energetically, astrologically, the new year feels like spring equinox, March. So January especially definitely still feels like the new year for me. But I don't know, for December, I want to take that time to really process this past year and to really kind of let it filter through my body and shed and fully release what needs to be let go of, and then fully kind of like press into my heart and integrate what needs to come forward with me, and start to tap into visions and feelings and ideas for the next year, but to focus this time on that pause. I do think I've been getting, there have been things coming up around where I wish I was at this time at the end of the year, and where I was last year, and where I should be, and just fears around what's coming and being ready, and there's just a lot coming up. And so I want to be okay with that and to be in it, and also to not feel like I need to do something preemptively or pointlessly to fix it, and to instead just be with it, because I do think that the time's going to come for me to respond and do the things, but December is the time to like pause.
100%. Darkness means rest.
Yeah, and I think that I need that, and I also really want to be, like we were just saying, and like you were saying, in the light that the darkness brings out too,
Right.
Like, think of me standing under the bright full moon in the middle of a dark winter night, that's kind of how. And same with like standing under a Christmas tree, even though we don't celebrate Christmas in that way, but standing under the twinkling lights in the holiday season while there's snow around, and it's dark, and
looking at a beautiful menorah that's lit in the dark.
Yeah, just that holiday energy, being really in it for the light it brings, but not for the noise that it brings.
Exactly.
That I feel like it connects back to that like primitive ritualistic way of celebrating the holidays in the winter season versus what our current society kind of brings out.
And it's so interesting, as you were talking about darkness, last month we talked a lot about, in October, the beautiful pink book of colors that nature provides. And I feel like, we know the bears go in and hibernate, and the whole world does that to some extent. But because of certain societal conditioning, we feel like that's not okay. So there's this extra pressure to go out and party and all that. And I'm all for celebrations, but but for me, and I think it sounds like this is part of what you're saying, is sort of like this season is telling us that not just that it's okay to go inward, but that it's necessary.
Yes. Well, yeah,
We have spoken about that.
This is one way that I embrace seasonal living and that I think is so important. Like, we all need winter seasons. And yes, sometimes our winter seasons come during the summer months and vice versa. And so it's all about naturally tuning into also your internal seasons and what's truly coming up for you. But I do feel like my body is so impacted by the external seasons, and also I've just aligned my life with the wheel of the year and how it all comes together. And so I do feel like winter needs to winter, and I need to winter with winter.
Yeah. And another thing I was thinking about in terms of the darkness, again, this could be a whole other conversation, but just want to bring in something. When I work with children and they are struggling with fears, I haven't done an empirical study about this, but anecdotally, overwhelmingly, children fear nighttime. They feel fear bedtime. And so there's a lot of reasons for that, and every one of them is unique to the particular child. But one thing that sort of I have found a theme, and it's for my own self too, is that so with the darkness comes a detachment from the busyness of all the external, and what you are left with is the internal. And it informs you about maybe what you have pushed down during the busyness of the day, and where there can be a lot of anxiety around that. What my intention is, and it's a lifelong intention, and when I can fully embrace it, there's nothing more meaningful in terms of when you talk about connecting to oneself, is that in the darkness, if you release, and the universe is telling you to detach from all of that and go inward, then real important, maybe previously unconscious, internal pieces of your life come forward, and they really tell you so much about yourself.
I think that that's exactly true. It's getting rid of the distractions, and that's what winter asks of us, and that's what I'm feeling called to do. And that's not to say that, again, I can be someone who can be very hard on myself and like perfectionistic with things. So I also find,
really, I hadn't noticed.
So for me, it's also important, and I think to bring in other ways of celebrate. Like December 1st, that's the time where I will watch my holiday movies and listen to my holiday music, and I don't think that it's about being a monk in the woods sitting in the darkness all the time at all, and embracing all our pleasures as pure pleasures, not guilty pleasures, and doing what we genuinely want to do. And I think there is something to be said for letting winter be a more silent, still time of less distractions. I think that that's what it's asking of me, at least. So,
and me too.
Yeah. So I'm staying devoted to that in winter. That is my intention.
Definitely.
Yeah, devotion. That's a word that's been coming up a lot for me. And what am I devoting to, and really staying connected to that. So
that's beautiful.
That's December.
Yeah. It came quickly, didn't it? It feels like it did.
This year feels like it feels like it went by in a blink of an eye. Like it never even happened at all, and also feels like it's been
Seismic.
5 years.
Yeah, so much has happened. Right. I get that. Yep.
So that's that. But
okay.
I would love to hear if you guys have any reflections on November and intentions for December, any thoughts that you have from this conversation. And we will see you next time for more magic. Thank you so much for joining me on this episode of Intuitively Wild, the podcast. I hope it helped deepen your connection to yourself, sparked some insights, and inspired you to live intuitively wild. If you enjoyed this podcast, it would mean so much to me if you would share it with others and leave a rating and review. And please reach out to me. I would love to connect with you. I will see you next time for more magic.